The Medal of Honor is the United States' highest military award for bravery. It is awarded by the President of the United States to military personnel who have distinguished themselves by acts of valor beyond the call of duty. The Navy Medal of Honor was established by Congress in 1861, followed by the Army Medal of Honor in 1862. The Air Force Medal of Honor was established on July 1st, 1948. 26 individuals associated with Arkansas are recipients of the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest medal for valor. In Part 2 of Arkansas Medal of Honor recipients, this segment will talk about the 10 individuals from World War II who received the Medal of Honor. Maurice L. Britt, affectionately known as Footsie, was born in Carlisle, Arkansas, and played college football at the University of Arkansas and professional football with the Detroit Lions, and served as Lieutenant Governor of Arkansas from 1967 to 1971. During World War II, he achieved the rank of captain. He served with the U.S. Army 3rd Infantry Division. For his actions north of Milano, Italy on the 10th of November 1943, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. The medal citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, disdaining enemy hand grenades and close-range machine pistol, machine gun, and rifle, Lieutenant Britt inspired and led a handful of his men in repelling a bitter counterattack by approximately 100 Germans against his company positions north of Milano, Italy, the morning of 10 November 1943. During the intense firefight, Lieutenant Britt's canteen and field glasses were shattered. A bullet pierced his side. His chest, face, and hands were covered with grenade wounds. Despite his wounds, for which he refused to accept medical attention until ordered to do so by his battalion commander following the battle, he personally killed 5 and wounded an unknown number of German soldiers, wiped out 1 enemy machine gun crew, fired 5 clips of carbine and an undetermined amount of M1 rifle ammunition, and threw 32 grenades. His bold, aggressive actions, utterly disregarding superior enemy numbers, resulted in the capture of 4 Germans, 2 of them wounded, and enabled several captured Americans to escape. Lieutenant Britt's undaunted courage and prowess in arms were largely responsible for repulsing a German counterattack, which, if successful, would have isolated his battalion and destroyed his company. Clarence B. Craft served as a private first class in Company G, 382nd Infantry Regiment, 96th Infantry Division. After the war, he would log over 9,300 hours assisting veterans at the Fayetteville Veterans Administration Medical Center as a volunteer. A post office building in Fayetteville, Arkansas is named in his honor. On May 31, 1945, Private First Class Craft was in battle on the island of Okinawa. For his actions that day, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "He was a rifleman when his platoon spearheaded an attack on Hen Hill, the tactical position on which the entire line of Japanese defense on Okinawa was hinged. For 12 days, our forces had been stalled and repeated. Heavy assaults by one battalion and then another had been thrown back by the enemy with serious casualties. With 5 comrades, PFC Craft were dispatched in advance of Company G to fill out the enemy resistance. The group had proceeded only a short distance up the slope when rifle and machine gun fire, coupled with a terrific barrage of grenades, wounded 3 and pinned down the others. Against odds that appeared suicidal, PFC Craft launched a remarkable one-man attack. He steadily advanced up the hill, killing Japanese soldiers with rapid fire. He reached the crest of the hill, where he quickly threw grenades into the enemy positions. His assault lifted the pressure from his company for the moment, allowing members of his platoon to comply with his motions to advance and pass him more grenades. He then stood atop the hill and threw a total of 2 cases of grenades into a main trench and other positions on the reverse slope of Hen Hill, meanwhile directing the aim of fellow soldiers who threw grenades from the slope below him. He left his position where grenades from both sides were passing over his head and bursting on either side, to attack the main enemy trench as confusion and panic seized the defenders. Straddling the evacuation, he pumped rifle fire into the Japanese at point-blank range, killing many and causing the others to flee down the trench. Pursuing them, he came upon a heavy machine gun which was still creating havoc in the American ranks. With the rifle fire and grenade, he wiped out this position. By this time, the Japanese were in complete rout, and American forces were swarming over the hill. PFC craft continued down the central trench to the mouth of a cave where many of the enemy had taken cover. A satchel charge was brought to him, and he tossed it into the cave. It failed to explode. With great daring, the fighter retrieved the charge from the cave, relit the fuse, and threw it back, sealing up the Japanese in a tomb. In the local action against superior forces heavily armed with rifles, machine guns, mortars, and grenades, PFC crafts killed at least 25 of the enemy. But his contribution to the campaign on Okinawa was much more far-reaching consequence, for Hen Hill was the key to the entire defense line, which rapidly crumbled after his utterly fearless and heroic attack. Nathan Green Gordon was born in Morrilton, Arkansas, and was a lawyer. He was also Lieutenant Governor of Arkansas from 1947 to 1967. During World War II, he served in the United States Navy as commander of a Catalina patrol plane. For his actions on February 15, 1944, in the Bismarck Sea, he would be awarded the Medal of Honor. This citation reads, "For extraordinary heroism above and beyond the call of duty as commander of a Catalina patrol plane in rescuing personnel of the U.S. Army 5th Air Force shot down in combat over Caving Harbor in the Bismarck Sea, February 15, 1944. On air alert in the vicinity of the Vitu Islands, then Lieutenant Junior Grade Gordon responded to a report of the crash and flew boldly into the harbor, defying close-range fire from enemy shore guns to make 3 separate landings in full view of the Japanese and pick up 9 men, several of them injured. With his cumbersome flying boat dangerously overloaded, he made a brilliant takeoff despite heavy swells and almost total absence of wind, and set a course for base, only to receive the report of another group stranded in a rubber life raft 600 yards from the enemy shore. Promptly returning, he again risked his life to set his plane down under direct fire of the heaviest defenses of the enemy and take aboard 6 more survivors, coolly making his 4th dexterous takeoff with 15 rescued officers and men. By his exceptional daring, personal valor, and incomparable airmanship under most perilous conditions, Lieutenant Gordon prevented certain death or capture of our enemy by the Japanese. James R. Hendrix was born and raised in Lepanto, Arkansas, the oldest of 14 children. Drafted into the Army at age 18, he was a member of Company C, 53rd Armored Infantry Battalion, 4th Armored Division. In addition to World War II, he would serve honorably in the Korean War and Vietnam War before retiring as a Master Sergeant in 1966. For his actions during the Battle of the Bulge on December 26, 1944, near Assenau, Belgium, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "On the night of the 26th December 1944, near Assenau, Belgium, he was with the leading element engaged in the final thrust to break through to the besieged garrison at Bastogne when halted by a fierce combination of artillery and small arms fire. He dismounted from his half-track and advanced against 2 88mm guns, and by the ferocity of his rifle fire compelled the gun crews to take cover and then to surrender. Later in the attack, he again left his vehicle voluntarily to aid 2 wounded soldiers, helpless and exposed to intense machine gun fire. Effectively Silencing 2 hostile machine guns, he held off the enemy by his own fire until wounded men were evacuated. Private Hendrix again distinguished himself when he hastened to the aid of still another soldier who was trapped in a burning half-track. Braving enemy sniper fire and expelling mines and ammunition in the vehicle, he extracted the wounded man and extinguished his flaming clothing, thereby saving the life of his fellow soldier. Private Hendrix, by his superb courage and heroism, exemplified the highest traditions of the U.S. military. Edgar H. Lloyd was born in Blytheville, Arkansas. He attended the University of Arkansas and served as captain of his ROTC company. He joined the Army at Blytheville in April 1943 and attended Officer Candidate School at Fort Benning, Georgia. He is buried at the courthouse lawn in his hometown of Blytheville. He was a first lieutenant in Company E, the 319th Infantry Regiment, 80th Infantry Division, when his unit was engaged near Pompey, France. Lloyd was killed in action 2 months after this engagement, but was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions near Pompey, France. His citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and at the risk of his own life and above and beyond the call of duty, on September 14, 1944, Company E, 319th Infantry, with which Lieutenant Lloyd was serving as a rifle platoon leader, was assigned the mission of expelling an estimated enemy force of 200 men from a heavily fortified position near Pompey, France. As the attack progressed, Lieutenant Lloyd's platoon advanced to within 50 yards of the enemy position, where they were caught in a withering machine gun and rifle crossfire, which inflicted heavy casualties and momentarily disorganized the platoon. With complete disregard for his own safety, Lieutenant Lloyd leaped to his feet and led his men on a run into the raking fire, shouting encouragement to them. He jumped into the first enemy machine gun position, knocked out the gunner with his fist, dropped a grenade, and jumped out before it exploded. Still shouting encouragement, he went from one machine gun nest to another, pinning the enemy down with submachine gun fire until he was within throwing distance, and then destroyed them with hand grenades. He personally destroyed 5 machine guns and many of the enemy, and by his daring leadership and conspicuous bravery inspired his men to overrun the enemy positions and accomplish the objective in the face of insurmountable odds. His audacious determination and courageous devotion to duty exemplify the highest traditions of the military forces of the United States. Douglas MacArthur was born in Little Rock, Arkansas at the former Arsenal building of the Little Rock Barracks on January 26, 1880. The son of Lieutenant General Arthur MacArthur, Douglas was a former Army Chief of Staff and Superintendent at West Point. He served in World War I and at the beginning of World War II was commanding U.S. Army forces in the Far East. Later he would serve as military governor of Japan and served as commander of Allied forces at the beginning of the Korean War. His Medal of Honor citation reads, "For conspicuous leadership in preparing the Philippine Islands to resist conquest, for gallantry above and beyond the call of duty in action against invading Japanese forces, and for the heroic conduct of defensive and offensive operations on the Bataan Peninsula. He mobilized, trained, and led an army which has received world acclaim for its gallant defense against a tremendous superiority of an enemy forces in men and arms. His utter disregard of personal danger under heavy fire and aerial bombardment, his calm judgment in crisis, inspired his troops, galvanized the spirit of resistance of the Filipino people, and confirmed the faith of the American people in their armed forces." Seymour W. Terry was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. His family owned the Terry Dairy. He attended the University of Arkansas and joined the Army from Little Rock in 1942. Lieutenant Terry was commander of Company B, 382nd Infantry Regiment, 96th Infantry Division during Okinawa. For his actions during the battle, he was promoted to captain and awarded the Medal of Honor. Lieutenant Terry was leading an attack against heavily defended Zebra Hill when devastating fire from 5 pillboxes halted the advance. He braved the hail of bullets to secure satchel charges and grenades, and then ran 30 yards directly at the enemy and ignited the charge to the first stronghold, demolishing it, and moved on to the other pillboxes. bombarding them with grenades and calmly cutting down their defenders with rifle fire as they attempted to escape. When he had finished this job by sealing the 4 pillboxes with explosives, he had killed 20 Japanese and destroyed 3 machine guns. The advance was again held up by an intense grenade barrage, which inflicted several casualties. Locating the source of enemy fire in trenches on the reverse slope of the hill, Lieutenant Terry grabbed 6 satchel charges, launched a one-man assault. He wrecked the enemy's defenses by throwing explosives into their positions and helped account for 10 to 20 hostile troops being killed. Pressing forward again toward a nearby ridge, his assault then took on 2 platoons. He fiercely ran across 100 yards of fire-swept terrain to join the support platoon and urge it on in a flanking maneuver. The thrust, too, was halted by resistance. Again, Lieutenant Terry began another one-man drive, hurling grenades upon the strongly entrenched defenders until they fled in confusion, leaving 5 dead behind them. Inspired by his bold action, the support platoon charged the retreating enemy and annihilated them. Soon afterward, while organizing his company to repulse a possible counterattack, the gallant company commander was mortally wounded by the burst of an enemy mortar shell. By his indomitable fighting spirit, brilliant leadership, and unwavering courage in the face of tremendous odds, Lieutenant Terry made possible the accomplishment of his unit's mission and set an example of heroism in keeping with the highest traditions of the military. William H. Thomas was born in Wynne, Arkansas in 1923. Private First Class Thomas was part of the 149th Infantry Regiment, 38th Infantry Division. For his actions during battle on the island of Luzon in the Philippines on April 22, 1945, he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. He is buried in the Manila American Cemetery Memorial in the Philippines. His Medal of Honor citation reads, "He was a member of the leading squad of Company B, which was attacking along a narrow wooded ridge. The enemy, strongly entrenched, directed heavy fire and hurled explosive charges on the attacking riflemen. PFC Thomas, an automatic rifleman, was struck by one of these charges, which blew off both his legs below the knees. He refused medical aid and evacuation and continued to fire at the enemy until his weapon was put out of action by an enemy bullet. Still refusing aid, he threw his last 2 grenades. He destroyed 3 of the enemy after suffering the wounds from which he died later that day. The effective fire of PFC Thomas prevented the repulse of his platoon and assured the capture of the hostile position. His magnificent courage and heroic devotion to duty provided a lasting inspiration for his comrades." Wilson Douglas Watson enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in Little Rock, Arkansas at the age of 20. He would serve in the United States Marine Corps, United States Army Air Force, and United States Army during his military career. He retired as a staff sergeant from the Army in 1966. He earned the nickname One-Man Regiment for his actions at the Battle of Iwo Jima. He would also be awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions at that battle. His citation states, "For conspicuous gallantry and at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty as an automatic rifleman serving with the 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines, 3rd Marine Division during action against enemy Japanese forces on Iwo Jima, Volcano Islands, 26 and 27 February 1945. With his squad abruptly halted by intense fire from enemy fortifications in the high rocky ridges and crags commanding the line of advance, Private Watson boldly rushed one pillbox and fired into it with his weapon, keeping the enemy pinned down single-handedly until he was in a position to hurl in a grenade, and then running to the rear of the emplacement to destroy the retreating Japanese and enable his platoon to take its objective. Again pinned down at the foot of a small hill, he dauntlessly scaled the jagged incline under the fierce mortar and machine gun barrages, and with his assistant automatic rifleman charged the crest of the hill, firing from his hip. Fighting furiously against Japanese troops attacking with grenades and knee mortars from the reverse slope. He stood fearlessly erect in his exposed position to cover the hostile entrenchments and held the hill under savage fire for 15 minutes, killing 60 Japanese before his ammunition was exhausted and his platoon was able to join him. His courageous initiative and valiant fighting spirit against devastating odds was directly responsible for the continued advance of his platoon, and its inspiring leadership throughout this bitterly fought action reflects the highest credit upon Private Watson and the United States Naval Service. Jack Williams was born in Harrison, Arkansas. He also enlisted in the United States Navy at Harrison. The frigate USS Jack Williams, which served from 1981 to 1996, was named in honor of him. He is buried in the Springfield National Cemetery in Springfield, Missouri. Pharmacist mate 3rd Class Williams landed on Iwo Jima with U.S. Marines in 1945. For his actions while on Iwo Jima, he would receive the Medal of Honor. His citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty while serving with the 3rd Marine Battalion, 28th Marines, 5th Marine Division during the occupation of Iwo Jima, March 3, 1945. Gallantly going forward on the front lines under intense enemy small arms fire to assist a Marine wounded in a fierce grenade battle, Williams dragged the man to a shallow depression and was kneeling, using his own body as a screen from the sustained fire as he administered first aid. When then he was struck in the abdomen and groin 3 times by hostile rifle fire. Momentarily stunned, he quickly recovered and completed his first aid before applying dressing to his own multiple wounds. Unmindful of his own urgent need for medical attention, he remained in the perilous fire-swept area to care for another Marine casualty. Heroically completing his task despite pain and profuse bleeding, he then endeavored to make his way to the rear in search of adequate aid for himself when struck down by a Japanese sniper, which caused his collapse. Succumbing later as a result of his self-sacrificing service to others, Williams, by his courageous determination, unwavering fortitude, and valiant performance of duty, served as an inspiring example of heroism in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Navy. He gallantly gave his life for his country. This concludes Part 2 of Arkansas Medal of Honor recipients.